We'll give it like another 30 seconds. I see some few people have jumped in and out. So I just want to make sure that they can get back in.
Then we'll start. We're very excited about sharing this with you today. Each day we get different vendors and prospects that come up with all these great ideas, and we've tried to collate it together into something that we think can be useful to you and your teams moving forward.
Stacy, we can start when you're ready.
Okay, let's go. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. I'm Stacy Kahn, and we have Cara and Alana with us. We're going to be spending about 30 minutes on the presentation. We'll leave 15 minutes at the end for any questions and answers. We're sure that all of you will be thinking through this because there's some really cool ideas in here that have to do with emerging benefits and employee engagement trends. As you know, we've muted everyone as a webinar, but if you have any questions, please use the Q&A, the chat feature, to throw questions, and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. Our goal is really to have you walk away with some feelings of different techniques and different programs you can put into your businesses to have better engagement. So what we're going to do is we will email the slide deck out. We'll also be recording it if anyone would like to look at that as well. And we will begin. Here we go. So as the three of us will be talking in unison, moving through this presentation, I don't think we need to tell you who each of us are. I've been lucky enough over the last 10 years, after starting Lang Financial 28 years ago, to have both Cara and Alana join. In our business, in the insurance business in particular, it's very important to have succession because our clients end up becoming our friends and we end up moving through their life cycles with them. We've been eating, drinking, and sleeping employee benefits, individual insurance, and HR for over 3 generations. I was lucky enough to follow my dad into the business. So we don't know everything, but we sure know a lot in this field. And please ask us anything that comes to your mind. If we don't know the answer, we certainly will be getting the answer and getting back to you. So we're going to walk into our agenda quickly just to give you a high level of what we're going to be speaking of. Basically, what we have is the definition of what we consider an emerging trend, what employee benefit trends, HR trends, and then business planning trends we're seeing that could be helpful to you and your businesses, and then how we engage these people. And lastly will be our question and answers. So with that being said, let's move it forward.
Yeah, so I think it's really important to start with the definition of an emerging trend. It's a buzzword and it is really challenging to define. So we're defining emerging trends as behaviors high-performing teams possess and looking at alternative ways to engage and enhance their employee population while also ensuring financial success, brand success, and employee satisfaction success. What makes a team high-performing is their ability to engage their employees while ensuring they're meeting their budgetary requirements, but also easing the administrative burdens. So I want to start with the employee benefit emerging trends. And there are a ton of emerging trends in the benefit world. These are really just a few of the most imperative ones. And some of the trends listed are items and changes that may just happen operationally that an employee may or may not know about. For example, alternative healthcare funding and the pooling of financial levers to ensure you're using your dollars wisely. Others, like the two I'm going to dive deeper into today, are much more people and forward focused. I always like to start with telehealth. Again, it's another buzzword. And we are hearing about it everywhere on the news, from the government, and maybe from a medical carrier as well. Most fully insured health plans today have a traditional telehealth built into the platform. And also, many doctors have switched from their brick and mortar to a hybrid model of both in person and virtual. The key is making sure, though, our employees and their families know this benefit and that they know that it's there and it's ready for them to use. It is important people also understand the difference between their telehealth program and their employee assistance EAP programs. Because for some people, that is really confusing and they seem to be the same, but they're really not. The best way to engage employees in telehealth, we think, is to have an annual wellness communication campaign where each month there's a wellness related topic. And it could be around that month or season's healthcare, health need. I like to think of the winter talking about flu season. And really, that campaign just acts as a great reminder that there's a telehealth benefit out there. Also, it is really important to continue telling people in a very direct manner that they have access to telehealth and an EAP, and these are how they work. Now, the reason telehealth rose drastically between February and April last year was obviously the pandemic, but also it was because the benefit was required to be top of mind now for many users. Now, there are specific instances where we might talk about increasing the telehealth from a basic level to a more advanced telehealth and EAP program because they might not always be enough for your population. You'll know this by the type of questions people ask. And I always say it's important to jot those down because technology today has created bigger, more elaborate telehealth products that could suit your team better. Some of the questions you will hear is, I think I need help finding a second opinion, or I'm not really sure how to find these doctors or hospitals correctly, and I need someone to guide me more in the care. The bottom line is with telehealth, along with any other type of engagement, is we need to remind people that these benefits exist. For example, I work with a company that added telehealth probably 7 to 8 years ago. The first 2 years, our use was pretty low. And it was because of two main reasons. First, it was a new type of benefit. I think this challenge has already been eliminated and overcome over the past year because people are regularly hearing and seeing and using the benefit because of COVID. The other was the communication was more sporadic. Maybe twice a year, people were reminded of the benefit. And what we would see is after the reminders, usage would always go up, but it never stayed there. Only when telehealth was regularly communicated or people using the program regularly. Now we're about 7 years later, and what's great is people now get it, usage is up, and it's constant, and we have noticed really the behaviors have changed. Now, I want to talk also about what we think is like the coolest new benefit out there, and it's all about lifestyle empowerment. So today's workforce can have 5 generations working together. A question we ask ourselves as business owners and leaders is how can we add benefits that one, people will use and will empower them, and two, hit a majority of the population? In the past, I would say this was an almost impossible feat. For example, someone would bring up they don't have pet insurance, so leadership would add pet insurance and everyone would think it was going to be a slam dunk. Then after a year, we would see participation at best, 5, 10%. Then through an employee satisfaction survey, we've learned that, we need to be talking student loan repayment programs because everyone was offering it. And again, after a year, participation at best is, 5%. This cycle has a tendency to repeat itself. It's the squeaky wheel syndrome that causes disjointed fringe benefit offerings. The problem is we want to make sure we are offering our employees everything they need to be successful at home and work. But it's extremely challenging to do this because we could have 5 generations working together in a workforce. Then on top of just the generations, we also have major administrative burden with dealing with a lot of vendors. And I'm sure, as everyone here knows, it's near impossible to have 1,000,000 vendors for your different fringe benefits on top of your other vendors you're already using. I mean, I know we all have vendor fatigue every now and then. But the key is leveraging benefits, I think, outside of the traditional medical, dental, vision life, and giving employees the opportunity to choose when engaging in their financial benefits, wellness benefits, and lifestyle benefits. While at the same time, we need to make sure we're making it simple to administer. We have found a way to really roll up these fringe benefits into one aggregated platform that can take the complexity away from offering a multitude of fringe benefits, while at the same time increasing participation overall to the 80+% mark. The tools need to be easy to administer. You need to be tracking ROI, and we need to make sure we're building engagement and hitting the necessary diversity by having an architecture of choice for our people. The bottom line is we need to make sure we're offering our employees the opportunity to engage with their lifestyle because millennial and Gen Z generations are demanding it.
Now we're going to be moving on to some emerging HR trends. Over the past year, as we know, there's been significant changes in the HR environment. Every day, regulation is constantly changing, and it's been extremely difficult to stay current while juggling your other responsibilities as an HR leader. So today, I really just want to focus on a few things that are within our control: employee engagement. A Gallup study says that 67% of workers are feeling burnout, and another study states that 25% of employees are planning to quit post-COVID mainly due to that burnout. So as leaders, the question we have to ask ourselves is how can we combat this immense burnout and engage our employees? Today, I'm just going to be shedding some light on the role that mental health plays in the workplace and a shift from in-person working to working from home. So unfortunately, a not so fun fact, which is just the reality of the current state of the world we're in today, is that 8 in 10 adults are having significant sources of stress today. And as you can imagine, this leads to that burnout. So what can we do as leaders? We need to be ending the stigma of mental health, which is crucial to have success in our teams. Now, I'm not going to ask everyone to be a therapist, but there are several strategies as leaders that we can make certain we're creating an open, inclusive, and safe working environment. I think first and foremost, it's embracing empathetic leadership. You want to encourage those in leadership roles to share personal stories and struggles that showcase disclosure and vulnerability. We want to shift our culture to show transparency of mental health as a strength and not a weakness. You want a culture that's saying it's okay to not be okay. And during those times, you want to make sure that your employees know there's a clear path of accommodations so they're aware who they need to go to and what tools are available to them around mental health. We want to be sure that we're engaging employees whenever and wherever they are. We need to be outcome focused. As we know, productivity isn't usually about the hours an employee is working. We need to focus on judging by results. This means that there are systems put in place to do that. Now, moving to a virtual setting, it's been really difficult as leaders to move away from micromanaging. We're not sitting next to our employees. We're not walking by their desk. It's hard to see what's going on a daily basis, but there has to be a balance here. You don't want your employees to feel completely isolated, but at the same time, you want to give them the autonomy to do their job and do it well. So you need to connect on a regular basis to check in on their well-being. For us at Lang Financial, what we've done is we're having 15-minute meetings daily. And in this meeting, it might be some strategy, or it might just be 15 minutes of chair yoga or kudos to each other for a job well done, or just catching up and doing that water cooler talk that we're missing. Now, when it comes to ending the stigma of mental illness and mental health, I know that this can be a really uncomfortable topic for employees and leadership. From an employee standpoint, they're worried that if they disclose a condition, it can adversely affect them. And leadership is concerned that if they mishandle a situation, there can be legal ramifications. But what is key in this is that you let your employees know that there are programs that can provide external assistance if they feel uncomfortable going to those within their organization. So that's promoting what Cara said is this employee assistance program, EAP program, promoting your telehealth benefits early and often. And when it comes to the EAP communication, you want to be sure that you're letting them know that there are many other services that this program can provide. They provide all types of different well-being when it comes to health, finance, COVID, caregiving. And I think as leaders, what is most important when we are talking on this mental health topic is you want to be sure that you're communicating to your employees that the programs that you're offering are confidential and all information that is shared is protected by privacy regulations. And if they are coming to people in leadership, that those conversations are confidential as well. You really want to be sure that your employees feel that there's a safe path of communication where they're able to be open and honest. And I think lastly, it's over communicating during this uncertainty. You want to make sure you establish a regular communication cadence where leaders and employees can address concerns and give relevant updates to the entire organization. You want to be sure that you're keeping your staff up to date on a return to work policy and how you're going to keep them safe while we are returning to work. And I know that for us, even though this policy is in flux at the moment, I think over communication is better than no communication at all. Now, I know that there's obviously been so much talk about working from home, and I just want to quickly touch on a few key points and share, a fun fact is that the reality is we are going to be working from home in the future and be going to this flex work. So it's imperative as leaders and managers that we're helping our employees succeed when working from home. Now, I know it's almost been a year, which is crazy to even think, but what we hear is a lot of employees feel that they've been left to their own devices. They're looking for leadership to step in and do a little bit more. So what can we do to help our employees? I think that it's checking in and saying, do you need help setting up a daily routine? Are you feeling flustered and not able to focus? How can we create that process for you? It's making sure that they have comfortable working environments from home. For our staff, we've given them a full setup that replicates what they have at the office. They have 2 monitors. They have an ergonomic chair. We know that you're just not as efficient if you work on 2 monitors and now you're just working off of your laptop. So how can we create efficiencies now with the shift of working from home? I think it's really important that we're setting boundaries. As we know, during this unprecedented time, it's been a gray area. People are starting to feel that this work-life balance has been blurred. So you want to show your teams and your employees that you care about that work-life balance. That might be setting work hours that after 6 p.m. and on the weekends, if it's not urgent, your employees don't need to be responding or checking their emails. It's taking that 15-minute meeting daily or weekly or monthly just to check in from a personal level and see how things are going. Your goal needs to be to take care of your people. And when your people feel that they're taken care of, they'll be more productive and there will be less opportunity for burnout. And as we all know, a happy employee is someone who's productive. But at the same time, as managers and leaders, we need to be spotting signs of burnout, anxiety, and depression. And there's many different training out there to help those managers and leaders be able to spot these signs. And of course, it's most important that these leaders also feel comfortable taking the next steps, communicating with their staff, and offering help when needed.
The last large topic that we're going to be speaking about today are the trends of individual and business planning. What has been most interesting to me during the pandemic has been a major shift in how companies care for their employees. It obviously has percolated to the top, which is what we've been talking about. This empathy helps us retain our employee base over time. It has become crystal clear during the pandemic that employees need our help and they need help with their own planning. You can see that this planning involves a level of corporate monies being used for planning, as well as corporate relationships touching the employee directly through planning, and the ease of it all, getting it done through technology. To begin, there has been new focus brought to the concept of making sure employees are taken care of at home and at the office. We just talked about it. Productivity makes happy employees, and that makes them more productive for all of us. People are realizing that they do not have enough money saved due to an emergency. In fact, an interesting stat, and actually a very sad stat, is that only 20% of Americans have $1,000 to $5,000 saved. The point is, there are ways to enhance and help, and us as leaders to help our employees, to incentivize them to put money away for themselves, for their families, and not necessarily cash is always king. And this is where we come into those lifestyle programs, because we understand that sometimes we might allocate some cash from a bonus and put it somewhere else to bring culture into our teams and our communities. Employers should be looking outside of these rewards because it helps ensure stability in the homes. And we know that they bring that into the workplace if there's stress. I'm going to quickly review the additional programs we have seen rise since COVID. Bonus plans, which is not cash, but having some of your key employees buying them some insurance, some life insurance, has brought them a lot of calm. The other thing that we're finding is, of course, as people have gotten sick during COVID, disability programs has become very pertinent in planning. And we are going back and talking to many of our employers about group plans, if in fact they don't have them. And if they do, an individually wrapped plan around that group plan for their highly compensated employees. What we know is that most group plans only cover 40 to 50% of highly compensated employees' incomes. And we want to try to make that more even, because we know as people make more money, they spend more money to live their lifestyles. And I think lastly, long-term care has actually become more and more important. It still hasn't penetrated companies as much as they should, but we know the pressure of taking care of our parents or taking care of ourselves when we're sick, when we need that paycheck. This is where long-term care comes in and can pay for some of those expenses of people coming into the home or an assisted living or nursing facility to help with our families we love. And I think lastly, this is for me the most exciting thing of all after being in the business almost 40 years, technology. My gosh, we've talked about some gloom and doom here, but what has happened is insurance companies needed to come into this 21st century. It is a hallelujah to us. What they've done is they are starting to expedite underwriting. It makes it so important because when we're doing planning with our clients, our friends, our employees, we have a way of getting it done much quicker than before. And actually, even these expedited processes go up to $7.5 million of coverage. It's big amounts of coverage at very quick pace. We actually just had someone apply through underwriting that normally would take 4 to 12 weeks. And in one day, we had an approval. So this is very exciting for us because it allows us to do our job efficiently and effectively with all of you. It's a revelation.
So I want to take all this information now and put it into a real situation we had. So just a little case study. So I work with a consulting firm, and like many other companies, they always run on a tight budget. But for the last 3 years, and let me just say, this is a very cutting edge in their culture talks and their thoughts about their people. But for the last 3 years, our focus has been on overall engagement. And obviously over the last year, our focus shifted to engagement regarding working from home. What has been interesting is they've always been on the cutting edge with regards to their benefits, but their adoption rates had at the same time been low. We would hear, like I said before, they wanted this, we would add it. Participation was 5-10%, and it continually happened. So we started working on an engagement strategy with them by having an emerging trend discussion just like this. We really dug a little deeper because we understood a little more of their people and their culture. And I would say after that discussion, at first the company was all in and they really just wanted pricing on everything. And that was great. But I explained we really needed to go back and again dig deeper on the culture, budget, and our financial constraints before we just went ahead and quote it. So we retook them through our blueprint discovery process with the focus being on employee engagement outside of the traditional benefits. From there, we were able to model and evaluate different insurance and incentive programs that would fit their needs. And then we were going to be able to create a communication strategy for those selected programs. And when necessary, we had a strategy in place for when engagement could not be handled in-house. For example, they wanted to have extensive manager training on spotting employee burnout. At the end of the process, we were able to do a lot over a 3-year period. Year 1, we added an enhanced mental wellness and EAP, employee assistance program, to meet their specific needs that we could also tie into their self-insured medical plan and ensure that we had a smooth transition between the EAP and the medical plan. We also initially added through this, I think of it as an EAP on steroids, the ability to add specialized training for people on a number of topics. The last topic we actually just used was about a mental health first aid kit. And it was talking to managers about how they can help and give tools to combat burnout and employee loneliness to their people as they're working from home. And then year 2, we added a lifestyle empowerment program to help engage wellness and added additional kudo points that managers could pass out for a job well done. They added this program really just by reallocating dollars we were already using towards a lifestyle and wellness benefit. We also made sure that we had a communication campaign that they could use throughout the year, especially as they were onboarding a lot of new employees. And truly, we really use a lot of that communication campaign year after year. And then this year, for year 3, we reallocated some bonus dollars for their high income earners and added an employer-sponsored individual disability benefit to ensure in the firm that everyone had similar disability benefits in regards to the percentage of salary covered. We also made a change on their disability group side of some of the definitions. So instead of having it just be a base salary definition, we added in a bonus definition because people are living off of their salary and their bonus. The point being, over a period of time, we were able to work in engagement and enhance benefits and make sure employees understood the enhancements. And a lot of this was just done by reallocating dollars that the company was already spending or going to spend. And then what really, I think, made it work was we made sure that the HR team was not overly burdened by these changes, so they really could promote in just their day-to-day conversation with employees. The bottom line is, whether you're doing everything to engage your employees or not, it all comes down to the communication plan. And I think this chart explains it perfectly. What it's really saying is if you have above average benefits with an effective communication plan, you'll engage 83% of your population. And even if you have a great benefits plan, but no communication happening, engagement's only 25%. So the bottom line is we need, when doing all this work, to make sure that there's communication and that the people are understanding why these benefits are in place.
So a lot of information has been shared today. So I'm sure you're asking yourself, how do I know what trends fit my needs and my organization's needs? And are these trends that we're sharing today buzzwords, and will they be mute tomorrow? We truly feel that the slides above are making way for the future of benefits. There's been a complete shift in wants based on having a younger workforce and because of COVID that is forcing this archaic industry to focus on innovations and efficiencies like they haven't before. So what we do at Lang is we focus on creating a strategic 3 to 5 year plan while setting realistic implementation strategies, really trying to not overburden the HR department or your employees with a lot of new items happening at once. We want to make sure that we have that participation and understanding of the new benefits that are coming to the forefront. But what is most important during this strategic planning phase is making sure that your C-suite team is on the same page regarding your current and future benefit goals and budgets. We find that when we have the buy-in of those key players, it translates to the employees feeling valued, which in the end brings loyalty and retention to your organization. So today we only spoke about a couple of the toolboxes that we use to manage our clients and their benefits. So today we spoke about advocacy, communication, and education. The other toolboxes are just as important and are discussed as we move you through the discovery, the creation, and implementation phases. But until there's a deep dive and understanding of your organization, it's really hard to recommend what fits your organization's needs today and tomorrow. So that is it for the presentation. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day. But now we're going to leave a little bit of time to answer any questions that you may have. So if any questions pop up, please put them in the Q&A and I'll just wait a few moments.
Okay, Alana, I actually have one question that has popped up. How long does it take to evaluate what trends are right for my company? Cara, you want to take that or?
Yeah, I can take it. So I think it depends on how transparent and all on the same page the leadership team is. Best case scenario, we could sit down and have a discussion over an hour period, saying that we really know you over an hour period, just to kind of put together that plan. And then of course there's the implementation. But in a normal situation, I see it as really a 3-meeting process. The first meeting is just making sure we understand who the key players are, probably takes 20 minutes. Then I always ask that we have leadership complete a scorecard anonymously without talking to each other, so we can really make sure everyone's on the same page. Then I like to have an hour meeting to discuss the scorecards. Again, just give us a little more data. And then from there, just another hour meeting where we have a little more focus on what engagement and strategy tools we can actually put in place.
Perfect.
Okay, and I see one other question, Cara. So what do you normally see a company with 50 plus employees doing today?
Okay, I think this kind of works. I'm going to answer it. It really works for a company that's 25 to 1,000. The first part is we need to start at the tippy top where the majority of the dollars are spent, and that's on the medical plan. So we need to be making sure that we're looking at different funding options, whether it's fully insured, partially self-insured, level funded, or captives. There's all these different types of programs. So we need to start there. And then from there, trickle down to some of these other benefits and making sure they're still fitting that overarching need of the company. So like for us in our company, we're smaller than 25, but we have this discussion regularly. So we're comfortable with where we are on our medical, our dental, our vision, and our life, as well as our disability. But we knew we wanted to add some more engagement tools, especially because we're not in the office every day. So we actually have reallocated our dollars that we were spending on like Starbucks gift cards and lunch for everyone. And we put in this lifestyle empowerment program where every month our employees are given points where they can spend the points as they see fit. And then us as managers, we also have additional points that we'll pass out as people deserve a kudos for a job well done.
Great. Thanks, Cara. Okay, that is all the questions that we have today. So thank you very much, everyone, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit on this webinar with us. We really appreciate it. And we hope that you have some takeaways. And if there's any questions or anything pops up, please reach out. We appreciate it. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.